Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body holistic life approach.
Hi, how are you? Today we're talking about in this lesson and discussion about metabolic health and not having extreme dieting. So yes, we're talking about your endocrine system, your metabolic metabolism, and what you can put into your body. Maintaining good metabolic health means that you're following, some sort of healthy way of eating. Now, I call it a lifestyle. It's about sustainability. So think about yourself at 20 and think about yourself at 80. And what is that sustainable for you? It's quite important to understand that this is necessary. What you do for your body at this point is a direct reflection of how you will live long term. Now, having extreme strict dieting isn't recommended. Just in general, think about that in nutrition. So I'm Damaris Grossman. I'm triple board certified family, holistic, and functional nutrition. And I have really noticed, even just for my own self, a person with obesity in the family and, went from skinny to heavy to, genetically all disbalanced and microbalanced, so the yo-yo dieting isn't recommended, right? So I tell people that, it's all about balance. It's about sustainability and a lifestyle conversation. And that's not always easy to do, but it can promote lasting health and can promote a natural way of thinking. So when you look at the different lessons that I've talked about behavior and what you eat and your exercise, you put little pieces of that every day. That's why I'm very big on saying a mindful way each and every day. You do little mindful steps each and every day, you will get sustainability. I'm not a bodybuilder, but I would like to be healthy every single day. And I want to do active things to keep myself there instead of the old self of unhealthy options and unhealthy things and choices that I've done. And that's not just food, but that's even toxic relationships, environmental things, and, trying not to expose myself into that. So let's start with prioritizing, obviously, balanced food. So whole foods, as much as you can. And at any budget, you can do this. I tell you 100%. It doesn't always have to be organic, but I want you to think, you go get some lettuce, you go get some fruit, you go get some vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats. Even if it's not like the perfect veggies, the perfect things, I would rather you just get the whole foods and cook it at home than just buying the junk. And you do that in itself is going to be better than concerning yourself if it's organic. Because just getting some quinoa, some sweet potatoes, some good oats and some beans and some rice. That in itself is sustainable than, these prepackaged junk foods out there. And then from there, after you've made your meal, not putting it heavy, contains of serving sizes. So that's understanding. So there's the mindfulness of that. So then you make your food and then are you mindfully able to eat it? So ways of eating nutritiously, or they'd say kind of a mindful plate, would be half your plate. You want it to be veggies, fiber. Okay. Veggies and fiber. A quarter of that plate, think of it like the good fats, and a good salad, let's say, or avocados. And then the other quarter of the plate would be a protein, whatever that protein is for you. Now, if it's breakfast, you think of that as 50% in that fibrous, and then a quarter, 25% fatty, and 25% in the protein. I would go a little bit more on the protein side, but that varies on each person. But mindful eating and having those cues, not only with what you put on your plate, then how you consume. So consuming slowly, listening to your hunger cues, understanding sometimes hunger is actually hydration. You need to drink water, or it's nutritional deficiency. Understanding when you're full and not to eat to fullness, eat to about 80%. Those individuals and those areas of the world where individuals do not have as much obesity in their culture, most of them are not eating to full. They're eating to about 80%. And that means that they're chewing their food thoroughly. So say you have a sandwich, right? You have 2 slices of a sandwich and you're going to be eating that sandwich. When you eat those 20 to 30 bites per bite in your sandwich, you would actually find that you could be full with half of that sandwich, because you're taking more time to digest. You're taking more time for the body to break down with the enzymes in the mouth and ferment digesting into the stomach, that you actually don't need to overeat, and it improves your digestion overall, and even like reflux, belching, and such. So that also is a big factor in when you're talking about balancing and finding mindfulness. Now, additionally to that is, what kind of foods are you putting into your body? What have you chosen? So anti-inflammatory foods are recommended most of the time, like that would benefit your overall gut health, overall, nutrition. Now, and that's not for everyone, but, things that are usually anti-inflammatory are like berries, leafy greens, turmeric, ginger, garlic, omega-3 fatty foods, like salmon, avocados, mackerel, sardines, certain types of olive oils, avocado oil, and then limiting much of the processed stuff as you can. That's varied for all of us. We all want to have some of it, but it's when you have it on a constant, your body will have more metabolic stress, and it will kick up more inflammation within. So we're trying to kind of like see if we can work that through. Now, how do you balance your blood sugar? We're talking about GLP-1s, right? So balancing the blood sugars, trying to get that GLP-1 uptick to where it needs to be. And you regulate that with the types of meals that you're picking, when your times that you're going to be eating, so that you don't have as many of those spikes. So in the morning, you're going to be hydrating, and then you're going to be picking, maybe it's a coffee drink to break your fast. Try to time fast at least 10 to 12 hours as my recommendation, but that's up to you. And there is a lesson on that on intermittent fasting and what time eating is for you. And then what you're picking in your meals. Protein is paramount, but think about all macros are important, but how are you doing it? So I'd say, like I said, about 40% or so about protein. And then the other percent divided out in your other macros, your carbs and your fats. And your plate, let's say it's like half in the fiber fat, or even you could do about quarter of the protein, and quarter of the fat, and then half in fibrous foods in the quality carbs. I also sometimes will even say sometimes half in the morning. I actually would want you to have a little bit more protein, and then the fiber. So then it, kind of balances it out so that you don't have those big spikes. Because when you choose in the morning, I'll give you an example. I've done it too. I'm just as guilty as you are. I've had a cinnamon roll, right? And I love it, right? So now what I do, I'll tell you my trick. That doesn't mean that it's correct, but I will add in fiber and collagen to my food when I'm going to have those types of foods. And that doesn't mean that it's fixing everything or my insulin resistance. What I'm trying to do is try not to have those spikes. That's not a quick fix. The real goal is to have more protein and good fibrous foods, so then you don't have those spikes up and down. Because by the end of the day, you'll end up wanting to have more and more and more. Now, stay active. Now, how do you stay active? You don't want to overdo it. I've talked just previously about exercise and movement and what that is for you. Now, I don't think there is a one size fit all here, but we did talk about movement, daily movement, non-exercise things that you can do for your body just by like parking farther away, walking, up the stairs, thinking about where you can go to get a little bit more walking into your day, having a walk, a standing desk, maybe having a walking pad, a cycle, something that can get you doing a little bit more than you would maybe do on the regular. And I have a cycle elliptical underneath my desk. I have a pad, I have vibration pad, I have a walking pad, just different things to kind of get you moving, even when you may not realize, you need to. And then paramount of need to sleep and rest. Around 7 to 9 hours is ideal quality sleep if that can be. And I talk more about sleep hygiene and the sleep optimization and how you can get that. And this enhances your metabolic health. This helps your hormone regulation and your weight management. Now, how do you do this? Many times I will talk about mindfulness, mindful meditations, deep breathing, exercise, a gentle stretching, all to help improve your cortisol levels and your balance and your hormones. Now, balancing hormones, balancing cortisol, it's going to fluctuate on and off constantly. So there's never like, okay, it's going to be perfect every moment of the day. But what we want to do is try to at least get you even keel so that you're not making poor decisions, and your behavioral and your psychology, like your stressors, are not making you go and choose foods or keep on the weight because it's not able to get rid of some of that excess stressors, so that that body fat isn't releasing through the body. Hydration, of course. Our body's made up of around 60 to 70% of water. So staying hydrated in the best possible way supports digestion, supports your metabolism, supports detoxification, because detoxification is getting rid of the poop, helping detoxify the liver. You need that to get rid of things. You can't, it's needed. There's no other way around it. You need to hydrate. You need to drink more water and not junk. And if you drink the sugary stuff, sorry to tell you, but it's not going to work. Now, gentle detoxing. So detoxing itself is not the green juice, but it is eating fibrous foods and clearing out, the gut, clearing out the junk. So, but there is some benefits of juicing for individuals. So I do like them. But that's not like the juice thing. It's really hydration and kind of clearing out your GI tract and getting it to the optimal set. Think of it like broccoli, cauliflower, some citrus foods, green teas and dandelion tea is helpful. Just supports kind of just your body's way of detoxifying. And then also too, we also want to get the metabolism and the liver to be able to clear out, because the liver can hold so much. There's different stages how the liver can become actually fatty, and it's non-steatohepatic, like they call it fatty liver disease. And you don't want to get to that point. And to actually clear some of that gunk out and excess of fat and cholesterol, you need to have some detoxing, and you need to avoid the excess of glucose that's in the liver, because the liver has many purposes. And if it is not able to get rid of or go through glucogenesis, it will actually accumulate more byproduct. Now, of course, I talk tons about my gut and tons of the gut and brain connection and how so important this is. Now, think again, prebiotics are the foods that are before you eat. It helps feed the probiotics. So think apples, bananas, onions, asparagus. It helps heal and feed the good gut bacteria. And probiotics are the things that are integrated and brings the good flora within. So things that people will do are fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, things of that nature. Now, it's different for each person, but there are different ideas. And if you have more questions, I can absolutely tell you more about that. Now, how does this go and equate to functional medicine or long-term wellness? So functional nutrition really is what functional medicine is. It's about nutrition. It's about what you put into your body and how your environment and your life surrounds you to protect you, right? So think of it as it's a holistic approach. It's a covering a way to get to root cause. But I consider root cause more like what is underlying that you need to manage. I don't necessarily always say root cause. I think about management so that you can transform and integrate your life. Like certain things in my life, I need to manage and put the right things in my body and expose myself to the right things so that I feel good and it's personalized. Unfortunately, it's not a one size fits all, but you can do a lot of these things for yourself. So let's see how it is. So whole person, I'm very big about maybe what is your genetics like? Is there something that may have triggered it on that may have gotten you to a point where you're like, well, how do I maintain a metabolic, healthier state? Like for me, I have type 2 diabetes in my genetics. I have the SNP that will cause me more insulin excess. That doesn't mean that I won't get type 2 diabetes. I may. But what I can do is I can prevent or manage this before it gets significant. Hopefully it won't come on until like my 70s or late 80s. Like I would hope that my use of food, lifestyle, and environment and overall holistic approach will make me be the best that I can be in my metabolic health at any age. So think of it like incorporating your genetics, your lifestyle, your environment, your diet, and the emotional factors that help you be the best person that you can, and how to make a treatment plan for that. So when I'm identifying and discussing like root cause or management cause, I'm really just trying to find out what else is going on with you. Like, is it just, just because is it just an insulin resistance issue? Is it a sugar issue? Is it a stress issue? Is it a gut issue? Is there inflammation throughout the entire body? Are you stressed? Are you not having a regulation there? Is your hormones off because it's age related, or is there a way to balance that at some point? Like optimize it. It's going to fluctuate. Everything is going to fluctuate, but is there a way to get it, that buck of inflammation or that irregularity of flora? Is there a way to get that gut biome into some sort of more manageable state, homeostatic state? Is the inflammation more where instead of it a big full bucket of inflammation, can we get it down to like a quarter? So once you're exposed to different things, it's not an all or nothing. It's not, oh, I take this and that's it. But if you can lower some of that, can we lower some of those symptoms from? So it's more of a management than it is necessarily always a root cause. I mean, I will find out, oh, wow, it's probably because of XYZ that this is happening, plus your genetics. Okay, let's see what we can do to manage it. And, it takes time and it's effort. And if it was a quick fix, I'd tell you, you probably aren't coming to me for the right reasons if you're wanting a quick fix. I mean, you just go meet me in the urgent care or the ER if that's what you want. I can help you there for a quick fix and acute care, but for these kind of things, it takes more time. Now think of it proactive, think of yourself as trying to be preventative, think of yourself of wanting to make early interventions. So avoiding metabolic dysfunction or trying to prevent progressive metabolic dysfunction in your overall system, think of it as you're trying to not get diabetes. You're trying to not get increased obesity. You're trying to not have a heart attack. You're trying to not have metabolic syndrome where your blood pressure or things are irregular. You're trying to not have excess inflammatory response or autoimmune responses that will cause you other health illnesses, like for females, like a PCOS, for thyroid issues. Men, it could be a prostate issue. For it could be a headaches, excess headaches. There's many of things that come out in inflammatory process in the body that actually are related to hyperinsulinemia or high insulin. So testing that can be done, there are different hormone panels. I usually prefer like Dutch testing for complete tests. Nutrient panels like Metabolics has a good nutrient panel. And then there are, an array of different tests to find out where your metabolic health is. On average, a little bit extended panel would be like lipoprotein A. I'd want you to do a fasting insulin, A1C. I'd want you to look at a lipid panel cascade. And those are usually my top. Oh, homocysteine sometimes. I don't necessarily think that's a major marker, but I really need to know, all right, do you have a cascade marker for lipids? Where are you at? Your insulin resistance, your fasting insulin, your glucose, your A1C, and And then CRP, I will look at for inflammatory markers. And then nutrient things, it depends upon each person, but I will do a full panel there. And then gut biome, you can do stool testing. Now, how do you restore this and what does that look like? That varies for each person, but think of it like you're trying to fix your immune system. You want to work on your mood and your inflammatory process. So depending upon if it's inflammation, it depends upon what is going on in the microbiome. Is it that there's not enough flora issues? Is it a leaky gut that they call it, or intestinal permeability? Is it inflammatory? Is it something more on the mood, more cortisol issues? Or does it have to do with your metabolic, your choice of foods, the foods that you're choosing? Is it not enough short chain fatty acids like the cruciferous vegetables and whole foods? So it could be a combination. And then there is those that have some infection too. I don't think all of patients have and clients have that, but it's good to find out because it could be a mold or environmental toxin or parasitic or Lyme. But I'm not going to say everyone has that. It's just there is one of 6 things that it could be in the gut, and you want to clear that out too. You want to work on it. You have tailored diets, certain probiotics and prebiotics that are used, digestive enzymes if it's needed, nutrient foods and things to help with the gut lining, like glutamine, bone broth, but those are only used in a certain amount of weeks, not forever, but that helps with the integrity and the metabolic health of a person. In addition to that, then when I talk about optimizing people's hormones, that's like fluctuating, right? That will fluctuate depending upon the person. But insulin is a hormone. Cortisol is a hormone. Thyroid hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of these impact your metabolic health. So when someone says to you, everything's off, so balancing is not as easy as it seems. It's a little bit more complex than that. But think about when you get yourself at least in an optimal state, you're doing yourself a service. Ways that I have done this for individuals and for myself included, I will use dietary foods, nutritious meals, adaptogens as needed, lifestyle adjustments depending upon what people are. They're high cortisol, low cortisol, not low impact, depression, anxiety. So each person needs something different, and then they may need medications. I'm more on the sense of slow and low. So like low and slow. So not against taking medications. I'm completely for it. I just want it to be done smartly and start slow. Stress reduction 100% is super important. And your physical and your behavioral health, like how are you doing that? Mindfulness, meditation, emotional support, support yourself with surrounding your environment with good people. If you find yourself you're around toxic relationships, you're not supported with good people, then you need to get yourself put some boundaries up. You're going to have to really manage that and put up boundaries, because if you don't, you're going to, it will be quite difficult to get through some of the hard stuff. So think environment in who you connect with, and also mindfulness and what you're doing to reset, whether that's yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. And the cornerstone of this is really trying to restore yourself back into a balanced, optimal state. And it takes time. But I will tell you, for someone that's had PTSD, health issues, metabolic dysfunction, and gut issues, you can work on it each and every day. And I'm healthier now, even with my choices younger, and even with my endometriosis that I had. I even had to learn so many more behavior things and modifications. And until I opened my eyes to that, I wasn't able to understand that, I had to make change. So until you can make changes, it takes time, but it's totally doable. It's long-term. It's not a quick fix. When you empower yourself with more information and the right information, and you don't solely rely on one thing, one diet, one pill, you empower yourself to do more. That's why with in reference to GLP-1s, yes, the medication is a tool, but it's not the full picture. And if you don't fix these other elements, you're not going to get past, because the underlying beliefs in your behaviors is, how are you eating? What's your emotional patterns? Can we fix that? Can we adjust it? What's your stress triggers? What make you eat more, eat less? What are your lifestyle habits? How do we improve that? What can we do in your life to make changes on that? And then, make it sustainable. It's about sustainability, mindful ways each and every day. If you have questions, of course, reach out and I'd be glad to help. It's all about, I'm here to support you and be part of your getting to where you need to be. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next lesson. Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative Show with Dr. Damaris Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not the substitute for professional medical advice, diagnose, or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcast or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest or more information? Email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.